Hey guys, thanks for the comments and the feedback on the double harmonic major video. I've heard your feedback and comments about the video and just gonna make a more detailed video on this scale. The feedback's been that it was overly simplistic. The reason for that was I wanted people just to learn the scale. This video is going to be for intermediate and advanced players. So I'm going to go into detail of the triads and the way the whole scale works and the way I harmonize on it and how I came about the solo. So this is going to be a long video. Be patient as I'll be doing it just one take. So what we're going to talk about in this video, we're going to talk about all the triads that are associated with the double harmonic major and how you can apply them to your solo to get away from that constant. I'm going to do it from C. So if we're in C, we're constantly doing C major, D flat major, and closing. And then because people are confused about staying within the scale, and they usually revert to the Hizaz scale or the Phrygian major, they usually use the B flat. So what I mean by that is this: you'll find that even though they're doing something along this line, like a they'll do that movement there to go to the B flat. Okay, so then they're going. Okay, there's your closing, or which is more common for Hizaz scale. But I like finishing it like this. But we can't finish on a 7 on the C because it's not a 7, it's a major 7. And you learn that when you expand the chords out of a 1, 3, 5. So we're looking at only 1, 3, 5. We're not going to even bother going into the 7s. That's another conversation. 7 chords, for those that don't know, are 4-note chords: 1, 3, 5, 7. So you're playing the first, the third, the fifth, and the 7th note that's applicable to that scale on that chord. In this case, if we were going to do the double harmonic major, the root chord, which is the C, we would be doing C, E, G, B, which is a major 7, which is this sound here. But considering that the whole context of this scale is not to sound that major, you would stay in the triad to stay true to the genre of this scale. Then again, it depends in the context of what you're playing. Because in my solo, I use it, but I use it because I'm transporting. I'm doing what's called a cadence. I'm going to a 5-1. So I'm doing C major to F minor because it's assisting in the movement. And I'm talking about this part here. So I'm keeping the C ringing. So that sounds nice and resolves nice. That's why that works. That's a C major 7. And that's why that works there. It's the same as, except I've added the 7th note, which is the B. So that covers that area there. Now, let's get to the triads of this scale. So you have the first triad, which is a C major. Okay. Second one, which is a D flat major. Then gets fun. E minor. Then we go to the F. F minor. Now my favorite, the G. Here we have a G major flat 5. The notes G, B, D flat. Hence why in the solo I was doing this chord here. So my D flat is up here. Now, that is if you stay true to the scale and you use every note of the scale to close. So now we've gone to G, we've got A flat. We have an A flat major, sharp 5 this time. So that means that the 5th note's been pushed forward. Or where you would normally go, where you have your E flat, you now have an E natural. Okay. So that's your A flat chord. A flat major, sharp 5. And then we're going to go to this one here. This one's going to be very, very tricky for some of you, but it's the next chord. So from A flat, we go to B. This one here. That is your 7th triad. Now that is what's called the B sus2 flat 5. Okay, now what's happening here is you have a B major here, B minor. That's what we're doing. Now the mathematical context is a double flat 3, but it's a sus2 flat 5 is what I would call this chord. If I wanted someone to play this, this is what I would name it, a B sus2 flat 5. So that takes care of your triads in the breakdown of the scale. So you have, again, C major, D flat major, E minor. Okay, then you have F minor. These are triads, remember. And then we have G, flat 5, G major, flat 5. Then we have A flat major, sharp 5. And then our favorite, B sus2 flat 5. Okay, so we have B, D flat, and F. That is the natural progression of the scale to go up and down. Now, as one of my colleagues alerted me earlier in his feedback, he wants to know how you can use all these triads or these sounds and form a solo, or work your way through the scale and come up with something. Okay, the way to answer that's this. If you're playing Όταν πεθάνω θάψτε, you're not going to play major 7s. You're not going to hit. You're not going to do that sound. You're going to stick to the basic triad because it's in context with what you're playing. But if you're soloing and what you're about to play after matches that, then yes, you'll be using major 7s and using the E minor, because the E minor doesn't sit well with the way those songs were written. Those songs were written based on 2 and 3 chords, which is your standard, your D flat 7 there. So in order for you to expand your harmony horizons and say, okay, I'm sick of doing the right, and then 3 hours of that, and then another 2 hours of whatever, you go to your F minor. Right, now you have to return. So you're going to go to your D flat 7. So you're going to go. That's your basic structure of your Hidzaska sound. Now, what I'm proposing and what I would do is, because I've played that over 1,000,000 times, I look for new inspirations. So as I was doing in my solo, where I'm going, now that's a D flat major 7. You can assess that yourself. You can work out the notes. That's C, A flat, D flat, F. Then you have F minor. So I'll do F minor. It's a basic minor triad with 2 C's in it. So therefore it would be a second inversion triad. And then here, C major 7. Now that's used as what I would call a transport chord to get me to resolve better to the F minor. That's why I've done that there. So, okay. Now here, I wanted to show the 5th chord of the double harmonic major scale in C, that it contains the flat 5, the major flat 5. Ordinarily, I probably wouldn't do that in a live scenario, because I would probably do a G7. The reason I would do a G7 is because the G7 resolves better to your C major than the flat 5. I just don't like that sound. You can do it, but I personally prefer doing a G7, and I wouldn't add the 5th. I would take the 5th out. How I would do that on Bouzouki is this this shape here. Okay, so you would have two Bs in it. This is a G7 with two Bs. I omit the fifth. 1, 3, 7, no fifth. Okay, so I think for the Magyafil, if you're going to play as a Bekiko, that G7 chord offers a much better flavor and a more confident resolution to what you're doing. So if you're going... So even though I went off topic a little bit, I've hit what I like to call decoration notes, because realistically, when you're in a live scenario and you're creating, you are going to go in between other Hizaz form scales, whether it's Bideotiko or whether it's just Hizaz itself, whether you're going to hit the B flat. Like when I was doing, you can even hit that. There's your F sharp, which is a flat 5. So that changes the scale again. Is it allowed? Of course it is. You're the one playing. You make the rules. The thing is to find a way to resolve back to where you started. It doesn't matter what you do in between, as long as it's within those parameters. When I say it doesn't matter, don't take that too literal. It has to make sense. You can't start off like that and then end up going... You're going to confuse the ear of and the context of what you're playing. So you'd be wanting to stay within context. So I would say that probably 9 out of 10 Bouzouki players, when they play Hizaz Scale, they play it in a variation in combination with Hizaz. They'll put in Periodico as well with the F sharp. So the flat, well, yeah, it's the F sharp, the sharp 4. But when I was saying before flat 5, it was in relation to the C major chord. So if I was looking at Periodico as a scale, that's a flat 5. So it's my G, right? But because I'm looking at it as an F, it becomes an F sharp for me. That's the way I'm thinking, because I'm thinking to myself, if I'm playing Periodico, I've got to hit the F sharp. I'd rather be hitting the F sharp than the G flat. It just makes more sense because there's a G in it. Right, so that's where that sort of thinking comes from there. Now, doing the chords in terms of how I came up with what I did. So there's a thing called cadences. Cadences are rules that work along the perfect fifths. That's the way I understand it. So you have your 1-4, 1-5, 4-5-1. These are cadences that the ears are accustomed to listening to, and it makes sense. The same way you do, that sound always works. Or it's a 5-1, perfect fifth. So that is probably a good way to think about it in terms of when you're soloing, that you want to resolve on the fifth. Now in this scale, because it's so exotic, and it's got its interesting relationships with the lead-in note, which is the 7th note. Lead-in note means that you're one note away from the root. So that's a lead-in note. That's the definition of that. So it gives you that opportunity to have a nice resolution. In this case here, we can apply a D flat 7 by doing... So if I was to reharmonize what I did with that solo, and I wanted to be a bit more, can I say, not so out there with the major 7 and stay true to Hizaz Scale and play like Etsy, like what's the word, Magica you want to call it, pure Laika, I don't know, I don't even know the terms, but yeah, if I was to do something like that, I would re-look at the whole thing and say, okay, I've got to work with 3 chords. These are 1, 2, F, and then, even though it's a 7 chord, I would throw that in for resolution. Right? Now, if I didn't want to throw that chord in, I can throw in the G. And that G, it just gives a bit of a surprise to the ear because they're not expecting it. If you listen to the song Sopia Keria, Mimis Blessers uses the G major chord there perfectly. It's there for a reason to create that emphasis of difference because everybody's expecting this. That, like that. But he's doing. So that's why it works. It's back to classical theory about cadences. So that's what you should look up if you want to know about that. Or ask me. I'm happy to research if I've missed something or haven't explained it properly. Please feel free to ask. So that covers that. So now, if I was to do, going back to what I was saying, if I was to do a solo with those 3 chords, I say 3 because I need the last chord, the resolution chord, is going to get me back to the root. This is how I would do it. So we're in C. So in my head, I've played the scale. That sounds circling in my head now. I know from experience that whatever I do, somehow I'm going to end up on the there. So I've got that to work with. And then that's my sort of pre-resolution if I want to use that, or I can, depending on what melodic notes I hit. Let's give it a go. Gone to my chord, my F minor. Notice I didn't hit the F sharp, I want to stay true to the scale. Now here, 2 options. I can either go D flat 7 to give that Greek feel, that and finish up somewhere there. Or if I want to use the Mimi Blessers technique and throw it in anyway. But they're pretty much the same thing because a D flat 7 is a tritone substitution of G7. That's another reason why they both work. They consist of the same 3rd and 7th note in the chord. Yeah, guys, if I've lost you, just right away on YouTube and send me your feedback like you did with the first video. So that's why they both work. So if I'm, or just an F minor. There's your G major. Now, we don't. There's a D in G major. If I want to go the flat 5, just to be different, I can do that. Now, according to the scale, like I said, you use the D flat 5. Sorry, you use the D flat. Too many flats and 5s. Right. But because of the law of cadences, you can use the G major in order to return, because you're going back to a C major. These are the laws of that I understand of harmony. That's why it works for me. And it's more about the chords dominating the scale. So at that point, when you're selecting the G major, you're thinking in a harmony perspective rather than saying, oh, I'm playing Kajascado, I have to hit the D flat. No, you can use that resolution to finish up. So that's where I would change. If I'm going to be a traditionalist and stay with the flat 5th, the D flat, well then you have to hit this chord here. Then you have to, in order to resolve. I did that in my solo to show the basic triads of the sounds that you can formulate, right? And then I added another B here. There's a B here on this finger here. That's just to give it color, that's all. No real reason. This B is not required. Okay. So I think this video here is a a bit of a better example of what you can do with this scale with what you have available. We've gone through the arpeggio triads of what they are. I haven't done the actual chords and playing them. You can have fun with those. But those are the names of the chords that I've gone through earlier in this video. Have a listen, go and practice, and feel free to come back and offer me some feedback on what helped, what didn't help, and what you would like further. But again, as I like to repeat, this is a video for intermediate and advanced players that have a good understanding of musical theory and advanced knowledge of their fretboard in order to make these landings, to make these chords or triads, whatever. You know, you just can't make these triads and arpeggios if you don't know your fretboard. So hopefully you enjoyed it, and all the best.